In Habit 3, Put First Things First, I'll review the following learning objectives: staying firm in the proper priorities, Quadrant 2, and Big Rocks. In order to manage ourselves effectively, we must put first things first. We must have the discipline to prioritize our day-to-day actions based on what is most important, not what is most urgent. Habit 1, Be Proactive, is about choice. Habit 2, Begin with the end in mind, is the first or mental creation. It's all about vision. Habit 3 is where habits 1 and 2 come together. It happens day in and day out, moment by moment. It deals with many of the questions addressed in the field of time management. But that's not all it's about. Habit 3 is about life management, your purpose, values, roles, and priorities. All activities can be categorized based on two factors, urgent and important. Take a look at this time management matrix designed by Stephen Covey with 4 different quadrants. We react to urgent matters. We spend our time doing things that are not important. That means that we neglect quadrant 2, which is actually the most crucial of them all. If we focus on quadrant 1 and spend our time managing crises and problems, it keeps getting bigger and bigger until it consumes us. This leads to stress, burnout, and constantly putting out fires. If we focus on quadrant 3, we spend most of our time reacting to matters that seem urgent, when the reality is their perceived urgency is based on the priorities and expectations of others. This leads to short-term focus, feeling out of control, and shallow or broken relationships. And if we focus on quadrant 4, we're basically leading an irresponsible life. This often leads to getting fired from jobs and being highly dependent on others. Quadrant 2 is at the heart of effective personal management. It deals with things like building relationships, long-term planning, exercising, preparation, all things we need to do, but somehow seldom get around to actually doing because they don't feel urgent. So in order to focus our time in quadrant 2, we have to learn to say no to other activities, sometimes ones that seem urgent. We also need to be able to delegate effectively. In Stephen Covey's book, he talks about big rocks. The big rocks are symbols of the big and important things in your life. There's a YouTube video on Stephen Covey doing a live presentation on the big rocks, and it will show you with real people and real rocks how this theory is actually so true. In the presentation, they take a bucket and put the big rocks in first, then fill the bucket with sand and pebbles to the rim of that bucket. But prior to this, actually, they take all of the elements out, fill the bucket with the sand and pebbles first, and then ask a volunteer to try and fit the big rocks in that bucket already filled with sand and pebbles. They aren't able to do it without going over the rim. But when they empty the bucket and put the big rocks in first, they can fit everything in without going over the rim. Something I utilize every single day, and it's very simple, but it just helps remind me to stay focused and properly aligned, is to have a sticky note near my monitor that says, Big Rocks. This helps serve as a great and simple reminder to stay focused on the important things if I ever get off track. Try to do it now, write down on a sticky note, put it on your monitor or near your phone, and see if in a week anything has changed in your time management or perspective of time management. Another few challenges you can try could be identify quadrant 2 activity you've been neglecting. Write it down and commit to implementing it. You can also create your own time management matrix to start prioritizing. And estimate how much time you spend in each quadrant. Then log your time over 3 days. How accurate was your estimate? How much time did you spend in quadrant 2, the most important quadrant?